Hi, this is Jason Furman again, and welcome to part 2 of Jazz Drum Set Balance. Now, we talked about this idea of transparency and sound and mixing board concepts of playing. So the two primary, our ride cymbal and our hi-hat with a foot, are the primary connectors and drivers of time in straight ahead jazz. So if I'm to play this time with just these two, you want to make sure it's strong and, like I always say, convincing. So we have this as our primary time, and I'm going to keep the jazz pattern very clear and consistent. I'm not going to play any broken stuff at this point. Now we also may have, we talked about the feathering, and we'll always bring this up later, and that's learning to control and play quarter notes in the bass drum underneath the ride cymbal and hi-hat pattern. This is the next level of balance I suggest that you try to attain. So keeping that together and keeping it soft and not overpowering. It should be a felt and not heard idea. If we start pulling this out of balance, which is not to say that there isn't a place to bring that bass drum sound up in maybe a big band setting, you may want, and I've been asked by big band leaders, to play more quarter note in the bass drum. Or if you're playing in a jump swing or blues situation, you might find the levels of your bass drum required to be higher. But in playing straight ahead, if you do this, it'll make it sound bogged down and heavy. It could also cover up, if you're playing with a complete acoustic bass player without an amplifier, you could be covering up his tone and notes rather than helping him. And you could also be making everything just feel heavy and lack the propulsion that it needs. So if we play it too heavy and I play out of balance, meaning the ride cymbal is too soft and the bass drum is too loud, you may sound like this. I've heard many beginner, high school, and junior high jazz band people, as well as some in college, play this way in balance. It may have been helpful in early, large ensemble playing at an intermediate to beginning level, not only the fact they couldn't play it, but also gets the band used to hearing something, a strong quarter note, but it's not really a true balance of feel. So again, try to make sure you work with these two elements first, the ride cymbal and the hi-hat, and then bring in the bass drum with feathering. Learning simple comping exercises, like out of John Riley's bop drumming or Ted Reed's syncopation book, will help you also improve your dexterity and learning ideas to comp. We'll talk about that in later videos. But just basic comping ideas, again, we want the snare drum comping accompaniment to be underneath this time. So let me play some simple comping ideas by keeping feathering on the bass drum and some comping ideas on the snare, convincing time on the ride, and strong 2 and 4 in the hi-hat. Now you can also start breaking up this comping by leaving the feathering concept of the bass drum and altering back and forth. But when you do so, you want to make sure, again, it's still an accompanying device. If you look back and listen to records by Max Roach is one of the first people to start talking when they talked about dropping bombs, meaning accents on the bass drum. So not to say that it can never be louder, but the interplay of dynamics while maintaining strong time in the ride cymbal and the hi-hat are still the primary functions of you as a drummer in a jazz ensemble. So let's look at some simple comping ideas, snare drum and bass drum, while keeping this and this are still primary time holders. So keeping that simple balance will allow you to feel more control and interact with the band while keeping a nice smooth sound on the ride cymbal and propelling the soloist forward. We'll talk later more in detail about the roles of comping behind a soloist and the interaction between you and the other instrument that is comping. But for now, Good luck, find those books, and try to keep your balance as much as possible. And as always, listen, listen, listen to the music. See you soon.